What's up, Stripe Nation? Blake Albertson here with B&B Lawn Care. It's springtime, man. It's coming. It's right around the corner. Anyways, guys, I flew to Texas to talk with Jonathan, the lawn care millionaire. So this is the interview, and I actually took an Instagram vote last night and asked you guys if you wanted a 30-minute long interview or a two-part 15-minute apiece interview, and you guys wanted a 30-minute interview. So I would just put my headphones in and listen to this because there are some golden nuggets in this interview. Jonathan is just a brilliant guy. I hope you guys learned some things from this. Enjoy this. And yeah, I mean, if you guys have any other questions, I think support this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and maybe we could get Jonathan back on the channel to answer any more questions that you guys have. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Also, I'm gonna be cutting up some of the golden nuggets in here on my Instagram, so make sure you follow me at BB Lawn Care KC. Anyways, let me give you a little sneak peek to make sure you really subscribe. That's enough. That's enough. Anyways, guys, enjoy the interview. You'll see that little baby in the next video. Hope you enjoy. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. What's up, Stripe Nation? Blake Albertson here with B&B Lawn Care. I'm here with Jonathan.
Hey, how's it going?
We're kind of visiting both of his businesses, Service Autopilot and his lawn care company. It's a $10 million plus a year company. And my question for you, and I'm kind of mixing in a little bit of your guys' questions with my question, is like, let's take all that away, and what would you do starting out in 2019?
So when I started the business, I didn't know what I was doing, like probably many of us. Like, we learned the business doing the business, and so I would take whatever work I could get, whether it be landscape work or maintenance work or irrigation work. I got into fertilization weed control immediately because I was selling some commercial work, and so I thought I had to do everything because I had commercial clients. And then a residential client would say, can you do this, can you do that? I was like, yeah, we'll figure it out, which is a good attitude. The figure it out attitude is a great attitude. However, what ended up happening is I just kept spreading out my markets. Like, one more person would call on that side of the market and then that side of the market, and before you knew it, we're just driving everywhere to serve clients, and we're providing every type of service. And so if I could do one major thing different, it would be this concept of dominating an area, like single-minded focus on a specific area. So I'd say, where do I think, and I don't know yet because I'm starting the business, but where do I think the best clients for me are? And most people, if you're in residential, are going to think they're like the biggest homes, all the richest people, and that's almost never the best market. It can be a good market, but like, what might that best market be for you, where there are a lot of people on the street or in the neighborhood that would be buyers of the things that you have to sell? And so I'm really thinking about, like, is this a street that a lot of people are buying whatever it is I want to sell? And so once I find that area, I would find several of those areas just like that, and I'd say, okay, I know my market's small, but what it allows me to do is focus on them and understand what they care about. Think about them. Is this a married? Are they married? Do they have 2 kids? Are they dual incomes? Like, what is their world like? And when I understand what their world's like, I can start to figure out what they want and how to sell to them. And I would just own that area. I would door hangers, I'd market, I'd have painted trucks all over that neighborhood. I've never tested yard signs, but I have lots of friends that have used them. They say they work. I would knock on doors, I'd give out gift cards to try me, I would own it. And I would go dominate that little area, and I'd be incredibly focused. And I'd keep my business very simple. I'd be like, we do this, I do mowing, fertilization weed control, and maybe something else, trim bushes. And eventually I could do something else, like pest control or whatever the other service offering might be. But right now, I'd keep it really simple in a simple area. So the word I would leave you with is I would run a very, very simple business. I ran a very complex business in my mind for being so small. I would make it so unbelievably simple because it'll make your life easy. It'll make it easier for the employees you hire to train them, to do the work. Like, everything's just easier. And then you get to go faster. When things are simple, you go faster. When things are complex, you go slower.
Would you finance or try to pay cash for as much or everything?
I personally am a no debt kind of guy, but I wasn't always that way. I financed my house for a long time. I financed a car or 2 along the way. I financed some of my trucks. I was fortunate. I lived very conservatively for a long time, like way longer than was necessary so that I could live that life.
Yeah.
I'm not like a big Dave Ramsey guy.
Yeah.
But I am attracted to debt free because now getting to know thousands of people in our industry, if there's one thing that gets a lot of people in trouble, it's debt. And the reason they get in trouble with debt is not because debt's bad. I don't believe debt is bad. I think I think truck debt and equipment debt and an office, if you were to buy an office, which I don't recommend, that debt's not bad. What's bad is when you don't understand your numbers. Like, you don't understand, are you pricing correctly? You don't understand what your overhead cost is. You don't understand what your cost of goods sold is. You don't understand your labor ratios, things of that sort. We see this all the time. And so, or another example would be, you're in the landscape industry and you don't understand the flow of getting paid for upfront work, or like your deposit, and you're spending that to run the business, and you don't realize, wait, that was not really revenue. I just spent a deposit. Eventually I'm gonna have to come out of pocket for all the materials and for all the labor, and like suddenly you're in trouble. You know, you don't understand why you're in trouble.
Right.
That's why I don't like debt, is because until you understand your numbers, or you really understand your cash flow, you don't know how to use debt. Debt could be masking some really big problems in your business that one day you wake up, you're like screwed.
Yeah.
And so my general advice is, don't use debt, because you don't probably know your numbers. But if you know your numbers and you understand cash flow, dude, you can do some really good things with debt, and you can go. So I'm not negative, I'm just like, be really, really careful until you understand your business.
Yeah, and one thing, like, we toured your lawn care company, and you had, like, you don't know for sure, but like around 90 trucks.
Yeah, I don't.
And it's
I think so, 80, 90, I would guess. I'm not sure.
So like when I came, like I was expecting like a perfect, clean, brand new, huge shop, huge like
awesome
facility.
Yeah.
But you decided to not have the money stored up and held up in something like that, because you're not in that business, you're in the lawn care business. So I was like totally shocked to hear and see that it was ran out of like a storage facility.
Yep.
So
yeah.
You're kind of more on like, let's be lean and mean and put the money to where we're going to be making money with it.
Yeah, it's kind of back to understanding your numbers. Like, you got to know what game you're really in, and there's this real risk for this is a real risk for business owners. And I'm going to deviate slightly, but it's very much tied back to what your facility looks like. So, you know, so when I've been in business since I was like, I started at 14 mowing lawns, and I was out of being in business for myself for a few years, and I think around 23 or 24 I was back in business for myself. I've always been in business since 23 or 24. For a short period of time I had a software job, and so now I'm starting a business around 23 or 24, and we're investing into our business. We're all of us, we're all investing in our business. But we've also got all these friends that went and got a job, and their spouse has a job, and you know, you're getting a little older now, you get married, maybe you have some kids, you're hanging out with all your friends that have jobs while you're investing in your company, and they go buy a nicer house, and then maybe somebody buys a BMW, or maybe they buy a Yukon, or whatever the thing is, and you guys are like living lean because you're putting your money back into your business, trying to grow this thing, to grow your income, and you start thinking, gee, like, man, like I would like to have those things. Or your spouse is like, why can't we do those things? You work so hard. And then at some point you're like, you don't feel as successful as everybody else because you don't have those things, and everybody else is now buying their second bigger homes, and everybody else is upgrading everything, and you're still living in your first thing, and you're like, wait, are we really successful? And it's not a fair measurement, because you're building this business that is full of wealth. You're building a paycheck for the rest of your life. It's like, it's this massive investment that you're building. You could, to make a lot of money every year, you might have to have $5 million in the stock market, or $5 million in bonds, or $5 million invested to make what some guys will make building a $1 million business. Yeah. Like, so you could, like, building your business is building this asset that will pay you for the rest of your life. And it's so easy to get caught up and forget what you're really doing. You can't compare yourself to everybody else. And where I'm going with that, you can also forget in the game of business that the big fancy office and the really cool trucks and the fancy equipment are not the game. Those could be things that you're attracted to because they make you feel like you've arrived, or to the outside world, hey, he looks successful. They don't make you successful. And the real game of business is understanding your numbers and say, what is the best way to run a lean operation that if there's a downturn in the economy, there's this massive opportunity, I will have the cash to go win, to go take market share. What is the things that I could do in my business? Have a less fancy business, less fancy office, less fancy stuff that lets me sleep really calm at night, not worrying about debt or being stressed about if anything goes wrong in the world. I'm good. Like, that's how we look at it. The profit is not in having the big fancy stuff. The profit is in picking the perfect truck, the perfect equipment, and the perfect office setup for the kind of business we're trying to run. And everything you buy becomes a constraint in your life. If I go buy an office, now an office is a constraint. And so it's going to guide my future directions. If I own a $1 million piece of real estate and my business is outgrowing the real estate, do I cap the size of my business? What do I do? Or if I own a $1 million piece of real estate and the whole market is moving towards guys in a truck and roaming offices and stay-at-home moms type of, like, well, who knows where the world's going?
Yeah.
And I've got the business, and maybe I become the old school dude in the industry that's stuck in the old way. Well, everybody else is out innovating me because I had a constraint in my life. So how can you eliminate those constraints and stay super nimble? That's the game I believe we're in. And that's why we don't have the big fancy stuff. It's totally unnecessary. I would much rather make the money and pay my team very well and take the money out of my account and in the business, invest it somewhere else than have an awesome looking whatever. Doesn't matter.
Is there money in the lawn care business?
Yes.
And the reason I ask that is because, like, I feel like there's so many, like, people that can't see the roadmap to, like, then they, like, push it off into everybody else. Like, and I feel like that's all you hear is, like, there's no money in the business. Like, there's no way to make money. There's no way to grow the business. So kind of hanging out with you, and why I wanted to bring him on here is, like, a lot of people, there's nobody that has made it to where we want to go and, like, is helping us out.
It's there's a lot of people making money.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the interesting people are not running around, oh, look at me, I'm making all the, like, that's not like an awesome person. Like,
right.
People are quiet. Like, people are quiet about their thing. They're quiet about the businesses. They're not on YouTube.
Right.
Like,
they don't want to share
channels.
Like,
they don't
knowledge.
want to come on the videos.
Yeah.
And so you're never going to meet them. You're never going to see them, and it's massive. I mean, I just think about my service Autopilot world, and the volume of clients that I've got to meet. They're not on YouTube. You don't even know who they are. Like, you don't even know they exist, and these guys are running $2 million, $4 million, $5 million, $10 million, $12 million businesses. Like, and they're invisible to the community. You've never heard of them, you've never met them, and they're everywhere. I've got thousands and thousands and thousands of companies using Service Autopilot. I'm not saying all of them are that, but there's a lot. I mean, and there's a lot of very small companies using us as well, but my point here is you don't know any of them, but they all exist. They're all making money, they're all making a living.
Yeah.
Like, it just, and I say that for encouragement. Like, if you just do it correctly and you do some things differently and you stay in the game and you work and you keep growing your ability, yes, you're not going to go to the cleaning industry and that's going to be a solution. You're not going to go to the plumbing industry and, like, wow, that's this magic ticket. You're not going to go to a lot of these other industries and, like, oh, okay, it's so much easier or there's so much more money. It's right here.
And the reason I asked that
is, like, in those other places if you do it right. Yeah.
I think sometimes, like, I have to hear it and everybody else has to hear, like, that it can happen.
Absolutely.
Like,
for sure, 100%.
So coming from somebody that has made it happen, like, I just wanted them to feel that, and I felt it, like, this week. Yeah. Like, it can be done.
It can be done, and it's not even, the other thing, it's not even an anomaly. Like, yeah, sure, maybe we've built a bit bigger business than many, but, like, you could cut our size business in half.
Yeah.
You could cut our size business in a third, and you're living a very nice life. Like, very nice life. Right? So it does, and there's a lot of guys bigger than me. I was like, I'm not the biggest. Like, I'm not anywhere near the biggest. There's so many big businesses, and it's totally on the table. There are guys that have said, I want to build a $500,000 a year business, and for them, they're making $100,000, $150,000 a year, and they work to optimize that business. Maybe there's some guys making $200,000 on a $500,000 business. I can't say for sure, but they figured out what they wanted, and for them, that was the number. Like, that's a golden life. Like, that lets me have what I want out of life and live a peaceful life. You got to figure out what you want. You got to go build that thing. So whatever your number is, it doesn't matter. Like, my number at this point isn't just about making more money. It's fun. Like, I want to build bigger stuff. I want to do a great job. Like, so it's not. We are talking about money. For you, it may not be all about money. It might be about a lifestyle and a life you're trying to create, and maybe what you're trying to do for your family. And you don't have to go for the big thing, but you should try to optimize whatever the size business you want to build is to be simple and profitable and take really great care of you. Like, what you're building has incredible value, and I just don't think people realize what this thing could be worth to them, and therefore the investment and the struggle and the time, they're just beat down by that, and they're forgetting they're building an asset. Like, there are people that work for 40 years and put money in their 401k that will be worth less money or have less wealth than you building your business for 10. And we forget that because we're looking at other people driving a BMW or doing whatever they're doing, and we're not playing the same game as them. And so this whole struggle is just a short-term thing, and then you figure it out. Does that make sense?
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. I asked you this yesterday because, one, like, all the business people, like, I try to watch them all on YouTube and things like that, like the gurus of business, you know, and everybody's like talking about, like, nobody knows, but it could be next year, it could be this year, it could be 5-10 years down the road, like an economic collapse, like not a collapse, but a downturn of some sort.
Yep.
And I asked you, I'm like, do you see that? Like, how do we get through that? And you kind of told me about you starting and just growing the business even through like 2008, which was like the worst downturn we've had in what?
Yep.
Since the 30s.
Yeah, since the 30s.
So
yeah.
Talk about that for a
maybe
second.
A little encouragement there. I think about this stuff like part of being a wise, savvy business owner is it's your job to think about this stuff. So it's my responsibility to my team to think about this. And so I don't live in a state of panic over this. I frankly think a downturn would be very good for our business, to be very frank. Like, it would be good. So to your original point, it's exactly true. We doubled the company every single year through the downturn, like 100% growth every single year. And what was going on in the marketplace at the time, in the area where we're at, it used to be called the telecom corridor of the world. You had Nortel, Alcatel, MCI WorldCom. Nortel, for example, a Canadian public company in Canada, went bankrupt. Everybody, like these MCI WorldCom went under. These employees, these people all lost their jobs right in my service market. And that's like a major hit to the little area, 5 cities I was serving. And in spite of that, I doubled the business every year through that. And I was learning how to market the business at the time. I was learning the business at the time. And my point there was that, yes, we absolutely saw some amount of clients cancel service. They lost their job. We saw some amount of clients cut back their service level. We saw quite a number of clients basically not add any additional services, so the value of a client might have shrunk. But what happened is, what I believe happened is we were getting a few things right. We were still out there. We had painted our trucks. We were doing door hangers still. I was very visible on the internet with a number of websites. That was a good strategy back in the day. And I was getting that stuff right, meaning we were still spending money. And our competitors, I believe, all took their foot off the gas. They stopped hiring.
Protection mode.
Yep, they might have reduced to pay down a little bit of debt. They cut all their marketing budgets. And not saying everybody did that, but we were still in the game, and we 100% growth through it. It's back to maybe another conversation we have. I don't believe that lawn mowing and a bunch of these services are luxury services. People are going to find something else during the next downturn to cut in their life before they fully cut out what they buy from us. Yes, they're not going to install the outdoor kitchen. Yes, they're not going to install the awesome landscape. Yes, they're not going to redo the entire front yard. They're going to kick all those expenditures down the road until the consumer confidence goes back up and we're growing out of a recession, or we're out of the recession. Those things will get hurt. But when it comes to maintenance and things like that, people are going to keep spending money. And I don't have the faintest idea what I'm talking about, but my gut feeling is that I feel like I know what I'm talking about, what I just said, but what I'm about to say, I'm not sure if I know what I'm talking about. My gut feeling now, because I thought we were going to go through a downturn like 3 years ago, I was just certain of it. And now I'm thinking, and this is why I'm probably going to be wrong, like, I feel like 2019 is going to continue to be pretty strong. 2020, I think there's a big question mark. I think a lot of really smart money says 2020 could be the year, but who knows? Like, a lot of times economies also hold up pretty strong all the way into the elections. And then you see some of the downturn after elections. Like, who knows? Like, it's all over the board. So just put your head down, be prudent, have confidence, block out the news, because they all get paid to tell you bad stuff, and just go and just keep going, and you'll be fine.
So just stay lean, save when you can, and
yep, learn how to market, take great care of your clients, build trust with your clients, look for other things you can do for those clients, take great care of your team. I mean, this is something I said at SA5 at our conference. Maybe it was the year before. We were talking about robotics.
Yeah.
And I was like, I probably just went off on a tangent there, but there's a point here, and that is you know, the great thing about an economic downturn is that when the economic downturn happens, all of a sudden your competitors are going to release a bunch of guys into the market, and you're going to have people to hire again. And so as long as you're keeping your foot on the gas and you're doing all those things, like, you're finally going to have a workforce again. And that is going to be golden when that day comes, in my mind, for those that are, you know, running their business in a savvy way.
I also wanted to ask, like, you've kind of mentioned it a few times, but what is the biggest thing about charging credit cards versus cash and checks? And just, is it the chasing money thing, or
you mean the biggest benefit?
Yeah, the biggest benefit.
The single biggest benefit is that you have all this money on loan to your clients. You are a bank. Whether you realize it or not, you are a bank, and you're making all kinds of free interest loans. Imagine that you had all your money. Like, as soon as you got paid, you had all that money, and your friends were all like, "Hey, can I borrow $1,000? Can I borrow $100?" And you have, you know, you have 400 of your best friends asking for $100 to $500 loans that they'll pay you back for in like 30 to 60 days. Like, would your business be very good if you were loaning to 400 of your closest friends money all the time? It would suck. Well, that's exactly what you're doing every day. You're loaning hypothetically, you have 400 clients, you're loaning money to 400 client friends every single day, every single week in your business. What if you quit loaning all that money to your clients and you did the work and got paid almost immediately, and then you made payroll after you got paid? You didn't even have to, like, have all the money to make payroll, because you got all your money before you ever even had to make payroll to pay the guys that did the work last week. Like, wouldn't that be magical? Well, that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's loaning money out to everybody for free, and then they wonder why they have no money to go hire an employee, no money to go hire an operational assistant, operations manager, no money to go hire the office person. Like, just think about this. Like, if you got a smaller company and you procrastinate doing your invoicing, you hate doing your scheduling, you, like, the government form comes in and you've got to do your sales tax or whatever, and it's like, you do that the very last minute at midnight every single month. Like, just think about all the stuff you keep kicking down the road. You're tired of always having your cell phone ring. All of that could be done by somebody else. It's probably going to cost $30,000 to $45,000 a year. And you probably have, not all, everybody, some number of us have $30,000 or $45,000. Essentially, well, really, it's not even that much. We have $3,000, an extra $3,000 a month. We already have it. It's our money. We just loaned it to 400 people. If those 400 people would give me back money, I'd have my $3,000 to go hire somebody that would make my life so much better and do all that stuff that I can't stand doing. And I know I can't stand doing it because I always procrastinate on it. Like, how life-changing would that be? And then if 20 hours of your week was freed up because you have somebody now doing those things from you, and you could go out and sell, how much more work could you bring into the business? What if now you had 20 hours to go out and be a coach to your team and train them and show up at job sites and inspect work? What if you had some time to simply walk the property and say, that needs to be done, that needs to be done, that needs to be done, and then knock on the door and say, hey, Miss Smith, did you know that the bushes need to be trimmed? Did you know this? How much money would you generate? But you're losing all that money because you didn't bring your money home. You just keep loaning it out. And I'm talking, like, the way I'm coming across, it may sound bad, but I did all that. It's like, the day that I discovered there was a different way to live life, like, I could get all my money back. It changed the entire future of I could change everything.
Yeah, because, like, and I was telling you this, like, billing at the end of the month, and then, you know, it may take 15 to 30 days to get the money. I mean,
yeah,
that's like 60 days that from when you did the job, and you've already had to pay your employee, your gas, all these other expenses.
Yeah, we were talking about this one other thing, and that was, and I'm going to do a poor job explaining this, but at least you'll get the idea. We were kind of talking about you want to build $1 million company. That's a very aspirational goal for many. Let's build $1 million business. Like, that's just a cool accomplishment. A lot of people don't do that, and so you're building and you're like 300 grand. It's like, it's just hard. Everything's hard. And you're like, and one of the reasons it's hard is because there's no money. And then you're like, you finally made it to 450 grand. It's like, it's no better, it's hard. You make it to 600 grand, it's no better, it's hard. It's always hard because you never have money. It's always hard because you have no money to go hire people that would help you make it easier. And so one of the reasons you have no money is because you've got it all on loan. And one of the reasons you also have no money is because you don't realize behind the scenes, to float that amount of money, you have to be saving money. So you're like, where's my profit at? Well, here's where your profit goes. So I'll give you an example. Like, let's just say, we'll just do an easy math. Like, let's just say your business did $1 million a year. And so that means that you're generating $100,000 a month, 12 months of the year. So if you're performing work for a month, okay, and then you are waiting for a month to get paid, that means you need, and you're generating 100,000 in revenue, and this is again not a perfect example, it gives you a concept. That means you're floating 100,000 from the first month when you did the work, then you're floating another 100,000 while you're waiting for it. So that means you need $200,000 sort of saved up to float that. Like the money's got to come from somewhere. Well, if you think about how LLCs and S corps and businesses work, you have to make like 300,000 or 310 or 20 or whatever the number is in dollars, pay taxes on the money to have $200,000 left in your bank account next year. Like, you know, you don't just get to keep all the revenue, you got to give the government their share even though you're not spending it, just to keep it. Okay, so if you want to just build this $200,000 pad so that you can float the equivalent of $1 million or $1,200,000 business, you've had to make an extra $300,000 that you never got to take home, put in your pocket, that you paid the government taxes on just to save it. And you don't even know you have the $200,000 because it's on loan to all your clients for free. But you did that, and that's why it's felt so painful for all these years building the business, is because you've never had any money because you were always loaning money out. You were building that pad, and then every year you're like, hey, my P&L says I made this amount of money. Where's the money at? It's not in my bank account. Well, it's not in your bank account because it's on loan for free, and you're like, I can tell you 50 reasons why your P&L never matches what's in your bank account. And so the takeaway here is that you may not realize it, but when you're lending out money, you are building these big pads that you've paid taxes on. And that takes years to potentially build, and it makes the whole process painful. You can skip all of that. Like you can just skip the whole process by getting paid now. And companies don't realize that that's one of the bottlenecks holding them back. And they just think everything's hard and painful, and that's one of the reasons. You just don't realize it because it's sort of this invisible thing that's happening inside the company.
Yeah, because I was like always worried about the 3%, you know?
Yeah,
like
you can't worry about that. And it's not 3% anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, what I mean by it's not 3%, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No.
What I meant by it's not really 3%, yeah, it might be 3%. Like for every $100 you make, you might be giving $3 to the credit card company. The reason I say it's not really 3% is because, well, let me ask you, how much money did you not get paid last year? Like, how many people didn't pay you the money they owe you? How many people will probably never pay you the money that you're owed right now? Well, all of that money is costing you. Like that's an expense. Like what percentage of your revenue is that? Right. If you just clean that up, that might be the equivalent of like that might add up to 1% of your revenue. So, okay, if you solve that problem, then in my analogy, you fix that using credit card processing. Yes, it costs 3%, but really it only costs you now 2 because you fixed that problem. Then you have to have somebody on staff to fold invoices and mail invoices and collect checks and payments. And you got to call and collect money, and then you have to hire a collection service, and all these other things are going on. And then that person that you hired, there's opportunity costs because they're doing that. They didn't send your marketing pieces, they didn't send your lead letters, they didn't follow up on emails, they didn't do all these other things because they were doing the things to bring in money. It's like, what's that cost you? So my theory is that credit card processing only costs you 1% by the time you back out all the expenses. Would you trade 1% of your revenue to fix all the, like we barely talked about your problems, but would you trade 1% of your revenue to grow faster, be able to hire somebody to help you in the office, maybe hire an operations manager, not have to build a $200,000 pad in my example that you've now paid tax on? Would you trade 1% of your revenue a year to have all those things fixed, and probably even now to be able to run a pretty close to debt-free company? Like, it's short-sighted to say, oh my gosh, no, I wouldn't trade 1% for that. I'd rather live with all this crap and pain in my life. Like, nobody says that. They just don't understand the math.
Right.
Half of building business is a game of math, like looking at the numbers, because it's not clear when you're just looking at your business and you're having an emotional reaction to bad things that are happening or struggles. Like, if you look at the math and you'll realize like, it makes total sense. Like, that's the greatest trade-off ever. I'll pay 1% for the rest of my life. That's the game we play. We just looked at the math, like, this is a no-brainer.
One last question
Sure.
that I got from them
was
old versus used equipment and old versus new trucks.
I like new equipment 100% of the time, and I like used trucks as low mileage as you can get, where they've already been through some of the depreciation curve. If it's a used low mileage truck and it got hit from the back and you got to put a new bed on it, that's like the greatest truck to buy. Like, because I'm going to spray that truck yellow anyway, and I'm going to letter that truck up. If the truck was, doesn't have any frame damage, and you crushed the bumper and the grill and everything else about this truck's awesome, like, that's the perfect truck to buy. So I would like to buy low used mileage trucks, and when necessary, buy a little higher mileage trucks, but because that's just the reality of building a business. But that'd be my preference. It doesn't mean we never buy used trucks or new trucks. We have been buying some new stuff because the only way we can get what we need is to buy new. We can't get it on the used market. But outside of that, we've always bought used. That's what I would do.
Perfect. Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, this is the Lawn Care Millionaire. Make sure you check him out on YouTube.
See you on Lawn
He
Care
has
Millionaire.
anything and everything you need to know. So
All right, cool.
that's it. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, you bet. See you there.